Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Assembly Committee on Revenue to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson.
Present.
Assemblywoman Cohen.
Here.
Assemblywoman Considine.
Present.
Assemblywoman Gallant.
Here.
Assemblyman Gray.
Here.
Assemblyman Hafen.
Here.
Assemblywoman Mosca.
Here.
Assemblyman Wynn.
Here.
Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblyman Ortlicker.
Here.
Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Chair Backus.
Present. And I believe everyone is here. I think Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong is present, so please mark her present when she does arrive. I would like to welcome our audience members here in Carson City, as well as those watching over the internet. If you have not already done so, and I have to remind myself, please mute your electronic devices. And with that, I will go ahead and give an overview for today. We only have one bill, Senate Bill 429 in this committee. Senate Bill 429 requires certain new or expanding businesses to provide certain family and medical leave to employees in order to qualify for a partial abatement of certain taxes. With that, I'll go ahead and open the hearing for Senate Bill 429, and I would ask Senator Flores, as well as his bill presenters, to make their way to the table. And please feel free to start when you all are ready. And welcome, Lieutenant Governor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Vice Chair and esteemed colleagues. I am Senator Edgar Flores, proudly representing Senate District 2. And in the interest of time, namely because I have someone who's very well versed in this subject matter, I have a set of prepared remarks that I will walk through, along with a quick walkthrough of the bill. And then afterwards, I will hand it over to our former Lieutenant Governor, Kate Marshall, who has invested a tremendous amount of time into researching this issue and who will provide, in my opinion, the very valuable points of why this bill is necessary now, and more specifically, why it is timely and in the benefit of women. And you shall see. There's phenomenal data to support everything we are doing. And I want to remind folk that we have bipartisan support in the Senate, and we hope to continue that spirit in the Assembly. So, Senate Bill 429 takes a Nevada approach that is both pro-growth and pro-family by adding a paid family leave incentive to our current economic development incentive structure. By adding paid family leave to Nevada's incentive structure, we will be able to attract those businesses with an employee-centered culture to support Nevada's goal to attract, retain, and grow quality jobs. Nevada no longer needs to negotiate from a place of desperation, begging for companies to come here, and willing to give any and all to close a deal. At the same time, Nevada is a business-friendly state that also knows how important it is to grow our workforce and support our families. Senate Bill 429 combines these goals to reward companies and support families. Unlike the 13 states, and there are several, and I could go in and enumerate them all at a later time should Madam Chair wish for me to do so, including with the District of Columbia, I'd like to just say this. Senate Bill 429 uses a carrot instead of a stick to attract the right companies for Nevada. By pairing Senate Bill 429 with federal tax credits not available to such companies in the above states, which again, I can provide the entire list to Madam Chair, but I will avoid that for now. Senate Bill 429 provides an incentive for companies that already provide paid family leave to relocate to Nevada and obtain not only the federal tax credits, but also Nevada tax abatements. Before I go into the bill, I'd just like to explain what I mean by that. Presently, there is a federal tax credit that is an incentive offered to companies when they offer FMLA. However, that incentive or that tax credit only exists if it is not already a state mandate. So if I could use California as an example. In the state of California, FMLA is required statewide. So a company that offers FMLA, we wouldn't be able to get that tax credit, that federal tax credit, because it's already a state mandate. However, in the state of Nevada, we're in a very unique position. If we're going to offer our abatements and we're going to attract the great company to relocate to Nevada, not only can we tell them, look, we have these amazing programs in the state of Nevada, but also because we don't have a statewide FMLA mandate, you're also going to be able to take advantage of a federal tax credit. And that's what I'm referring to there. So we can not just look at what we offer, and it's an amazing incentive that we offer to companies in the state of Nevada that will bring, in my opinion, the best companies that have employees at the forefront and at the same time making money. We can do both. That's what we're saying here. And I'll walk you through the bill. The main crux of the bill is on page 5 and 6. So rather than just say line by line, I will start at the top of, at page 5, line 23 through 34, and then I'll just walk you through what we're saying here. So starting from page 5, lines 23 through 34 of Senate Bill 429, it adds new provisions that requires GOED to determine that an applicant for abatements that has or will have at least 50 employees by the 8th quarter after receiving abatements has a policy for paid family leave for those employees who have been employed by at least 1 year. Such level is required to be 12 weeks paid at the rate of at least 55% of the regular wages of the employee. If you continue reading further down in that section, it also requires an applicant to go ahead to agree in writing that the business will not prohibit, interfere with, or otherwise discourage an employee from taking paid family medical leave, and references the federal FMLA Act. If you continue reading a little further down, it specifies that an applicant's paid family medical leave will also cover leave for the care of an adult child, sibling, or domestic partner of the employee. And then lastly, you'll read the language that says, that adds an additional requirement that GOED consider whether an applicant has a policy of paid family and medical leave for its employees when determining whether such an applicant shall be approved for an abatement. And now, if I may, Madam Chair, I'd like to hand over the presentation to our former Lieutenant Governor, Kate Marshall.
Good afternoon, Kate Marshall on behalf of the Impact Project via the Hopewell Fund. Madam Chair, is it okay if I go forward? Okay, thank you. All right, so let's talk about how this works. So basically, as the Senator was saying, we have a federal law, and that federal law is enacted for 2017 through January 1st of 2026, that if a company provides paid FMLA, and the criteria in this bill match the criteria under the IRS, then the feds will give that company a tax credit. It's actually a very generous tax credit. But the criteria only works if the state does not require the company to provide paid FMLA, as they do in 13 other states. And as the Senator explained, so if you're a company in California, you are currently today required to provide paid FMLA. What this bill does, what the federal tax credit does, is says if they're in a state that doesn't require it, and they require it, and they provide paid FMLA, then they will get the tax credit. So it's an opportunity for Nevada to sweeten the deal and say, look, we know that in California or Oregon or these other states or District of Columbia that you are already providing paid FMLA. If you come to Nevada and do the same thing, you're not only going to get a federal tax credit, but you're also going to get an abatement. So it's an opportunity to attract those types of companies that I think that are worthy of what we offer here in Nevada, right? They're companies that are employee-centered, and so they're the kind of companies that improve Nevada while we improve their tax situation. To qualify for the federal tax credit, the leave must be at least 50% of wages paid to the employee. So what you have here is a near-term opportunity to attract the kind of companies, for example, companies in California, to move here to get a federal tax credit, and we'll sweeten the deal with an abatement. But then I think the question becomes, well, why do we want to do that in Nevada? What benefit, what do we get in Nevada other than a company that already offers paid FMLA? And that's where I'd like to turn you to these graphs. Let's see if I can do this. All right. So the first graph that you're going to see, what I'm talking about here is workforce participation in Nevada. And so the first graph you'll see, this is the Federal Reserve, and it's as of February 2023. What you'll see that since I want to make sure I get my numbers right. Since 2008, we have had a decline in federal workforce rate in Nevada. Now, I can show you this graph, but I think that you all intuitively know what I'm talking about, right? We have less people in our workforce. As of February 2023, our workforce participation rate, just to explain, the workforce participation rate is those 18 to 54 that could work but are not working. Okay, so your workforce, that's the percentages. I should add that under the federal, this will come up later, under the federal analysis, they will include people actually a little bit older who might have retired already. So this might include people who might have retired. So what you're seeing here is that our rate is currently 61.8. It is also lower than the national average. Apples to apples comparison, the national average is 62.5. So what I can tell you is that Nevada has room to increase our workforce participation, even if we only sought to increase it up to the national average. So that's looking at men and women of workforce age. But let's turn to women, because I think you're going to see there that it is a greater issue for us. If we only look at women, I have data for 2022. The participation rate in Nevada is 55.7, compared to a national average of 56.8. So not only do we have room to grow in general, but we have room to grow with women in particular. And now the question becomes would paid family leave make a difference in those numbers? And the answer to that, I believe, and I'm going to show you data, is yes. Two states, we have the example of two states which did not require paid family leave and then required paid family leave, and we can look at the women participation in the workforce compared to before and after and see if it made a difference that we had paid family leave. So if you look here at California passed paid family leave in 2004, the blue line, the top blue line, is women without children. The bottom orange line is women who have children. And what you'll see is prior to the passage of the paid family leave, they track, but there's a huge gap, right, in terms of women in the workforce. After they pass paid family leave, notice that the orange line rises rather dramatically to meet the blue line. And the data shows that we have short-term benefits of offering women paid family leave, such as reducing poverty and improving maternal health and child health, but there are also longer-term economic benefits of getting women back into the workforce, particularly higher-skilled women, more educated women. Furthermore, the job protection with paid leave also increases leave-taking and benefits for individuals who may not be likely covered by FMLA. So these slides look at prime working age adults. So this is for women aged 25 to 54. So in California, and the other slide I'm going to show you is New Jersey, when women were having children, they would leave the workforce at a rate of about a quarter to a third would leave the workforce. Women would start coming back gradually over time, but as many as 1 in 5 would not return by the time their child was 11. So if I go back to you and I show you, here's our declining workforce participation. Now I show you the decline is actually greater when we talk about women, but it gets worse when women have children. So how do we close the gap? Remember I said before, there is an opportunity here to grow our workforce participation for our businesses. Implementation of a state paid family leave policy increases labor force participation of moms by 6 percentage points in the year of birth, effectively reducing birth year maternal labor market detachment by 20%. It goes up over the long term as well. Up to 5 years after the birth, a woman who had access to paid family leave at the time of birth are 3 to 6 percentage points more likely to be in the labor force, representing a 20 to 50% reduction in market detachment 5 years after birth. Let me show you the New Jersey one. New Jersey passed paid family leave in 2009. Again, you can see the blue line and the orange line roughly track before we have paid family leave. After we have paid family leave, the orange line rises rather steeply to meet the blue line, meaning women with children are getting back into the workforce. Now, I think if you're a business, one of the things that probably comes to your mind if you're going to offer paid family leave is like, well, okay, then I'm going to have all women, and they're going to go on leave, and I'm going to be paying part of that, and they're not going to be in the workforce, right? They're going to be on leave. And I, as a business, can't absorb that. Well, the data doesn't say that. What the data says is that paid family leave in California led to a 10 to 17% increase in working hours by mothers of preschoolers. So even though these women took paid family leave, they increased their working hours, resulting in less workforce shortage. Now, all of you who are moms know this right away. You have children, you go back to work, you do more work, and you still remember birthdays. But the data actually bears that out. When you offer women paid family leave, not only do they return to the workforce, but they actually work more hours. So the idea that we could attract companies that are employee-centered, that are the right companies for Nevada, and be pro-growth and pro-family is not pie in the sky. We could offer these companies the opportunity to get a tax credit, a federal tax credit, and an abatement, and attract the right companies for Nevada. I'll turn it back to Senator Flores, and if you want to open it for questions. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Senator Edgar Flores, for the record, at this time, we'd be happy to take any questions the committee may have.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. We'll go ahead and start with Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it's good to see you, Senator and Lieutenant Governor. I do have a couple of questions. Bear with me. I apologize. My line of questioning. I got a lot of questions on this, and so I'm going to try to ask a couple and then hopefully come back, Madam Chair, after everybody else has had a chance. And so if I'm understanding this bill, we're targeting only some of the companies that apply and receive the tax abatements. So we're not going after like the solar companies that are basically temporary jobs, but more of the full-time jobs. And then we're also talking about GoEd doing kind of an audit or a track of this while the abatements are going on. But what happens in the long term, after the abatements have expired or they've used up all their life, will there still be a compliance check after that? Or if once the abatement is done, there will be no more checks and balance on this?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to you, Assemblyman Hafen. Thank you very much for the question. So all I can tell you is my own experience with understanding how GoEd works. So yes, this is for companies with more than 50 employees, unless the company already offers paid family leave. So if they already do it in California, then we don't want to be treated second best, right? So that's the first thing. There, in the federal tax code, there is a provision, I think, for prorating part-time workers, but I don't know the details of how that works for offering paid family leave. I can provide you the Section 45S of the IRS codes, kind of, their FAQs, to look at that, but there is an opportunity to prorate for part-time workers. What this bill says is that if you have at least 50 employees or more by the 8th quarter, or unless you offer it, in the state from which you're coming, then you will have to offer paid family leave to those employees. The way it works now in GoEd is that the company reports to GoEd on all the obligations that it has, like healthcare insurance and workforce conditions and things, and hourly wages, and how many, if any, of the employees are taking part in social services. The company reports to GoEd, and GoEd keeps a running analysis of that. So it's not GoEd going out and doing an audit, it's the company coming in and reporting, and this would just be another item on the checklist.
And that is my understanding, but my question is that is only, the reporting is only required during the time frame that they're receiving the abatements, and some of the abatements are 20 years. And so my question is what happens after the 20 years? Because my understanding of the bill is that these requirements are in perpetuity. So if you accept the abatements, you have to continue this in perpetuity, but the reporting is only done during the abatement period. And so I'm curious what happens after the abatement period to ensure that these are being adhered to.
Kate Marshall, for the record, through you, Madam Chair, to you, Assemblyman Hafen. So it will work exactly the way any other incentives and abatements work for GoEd. We are not asking for a change. It will work exactly the way they work for any of their other incentives and criteria.
Just so I understand clear, once the abatement ends, then the reporting would also end.
That's my understanding of how it works today, but we are not asking for a change in GoEd's processes. So they will continue with the same processes that they have had to date.
Thank you so much. And you can go directly to the asking member. You don't need to go through the chair. Thank you for the formality, though. Next, we will go to Assemblyman Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Senator and Lieutenant Governor. Love the carrot approach. Love the cutting of taxes. Anytime you can reduce tax liability, that's great, especially when you're not beating them over the head. One question I do have, though, and it's to me, it's glaringly apparent. We've heard a lot of these bills already, and usually GoEd's sitting here side by side, preaching the benefits of it and stuff as well. They're noticeably absent today. Any idea why, or do they support this, or do they not support this?
Thank you for that question, Assemblyman Senator Edgar Flores, for the record. There's two competing thoughts in the conversations we've had with GoEd. There's the model that we have now, which is let's open the floodgates and try to attract as many businesses as possible. And at the same time, nobody in the state of Nevada would argue, not you, not myself, not GoEd, that we want to attract the best businesses. However, there's an obvious disconnect between those two models. Because if we're trying to attract the best businesses with the best practices who protect their employees while meaningfully making money versus folk that are only prioritizing making money, that pool will look different. They're not mutually exclusive always, but they can be. And so there was that pushback and resistance in saying, well, will we potentially find ourselves in a scenario where there might be some businesses who don't offer FMLA, and that is a concern. That is absolutely a concern that was raised. Obviously, only time will be able to tell, but the bottom line is we believe that where the state of Nevada is today is very different than where the state of Nevada was before. Particularly in Northern Nevada, I've had an opportunity to speak with my colleagues who are up there, but not just them. Anybody who is in Northern Nevada has a whole host of questions on how are we going to continue to sustain growing business. And it's a beautiful thing. Nevada is open for business. We've made it abundantly clear. Now I think we have an opportunity to join right next to, at the same level, in a parallel line, say we are open for business and we're bringing the best business. Because one of the things, and every single person in Nevada can agree with this, we are in the middle of a housing crisis. We have a situation where, unfortunately, a lot of Nevadans cannot pay their bills, cannot take care of their families. And so what we're saying is Nevada is open for business, but we're open for business for individuals who are creating a sustainable relationship with our families so that moving forward, as we have new young families, and we need them, our new young families are going to continue to grow, that we realize that if you're going to take advantage of all these abatements, remember this only applies to abatements. Any business can come here, and if they're just joining the private sector and they're not taking advantage of all the benefits that we as a state are going to give out, they can do whatever they want. But we're saying if you're going to come and take advantage of our benefits that we're giving you as a state, we're luring you in, that we set some minimal criteria to ensure that we're taking care of our particularly our young families in that scenario.
Thank you. And aside from this, I do appreciate that focus on taking care of the family and the people. I mean, that's one of the horror stories I heard. I've heard living very close to, let's just say, one of our larger industrial areas. The rapid turnover of a lot of employees, just because that focus, customer or the employee-centered focus isn't there. So, thank you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Cohen.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. These are so long. So I'd like to ask you about the letter we got in opposition from the Henderson Chamber dated May 7th. I don't know if I'm assuming you've had a chance to review it, but I find it somewhat disconcerting, but I do want to give you a chance to respond to it. I guess I'll just mention what my concerns are with it and then give you the chance to respond to it. I find it first, I think it's that main paragraph, that middle paragraph that says that it's offering benefits to companies that most businesses operating in Nevada are not able to obtain, because first, we know with abatements that's common, that often abatements, some businesses can get it, some businesses can't. And then that second sentence in that paragraph refers to subsidizing businesses. And I just find that really strange because, I mean, I guess that's technically what abatements are, but we've seen chambers and pro-business agencies and business organizations come into this committee time and time again asking for abatements, and I just don't know what the difference here is, except for the fact that we're asking for benefits for our families to come along with these abatements, and so if you could please address that.
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman Cohen, for that question. I think it's an important one. There is, I think, in front of this body and in front of the legislature as a whole, a lot of questions these days about what are we doing with our abatements, who are we attracting, and who are we harming. And I think that that is a serious conversation in front of you. This bill is meant to attract companies that are already offering paid family leave in other states to come to Nevada. We made a specific carve out for businesses with that they need to have 50 employees or more, because that concern was raised on the Senate side. We are trying to, how do we attract, if we're going to attract companies, and that's a question before you, are we going to attract companies with abatements? This bill's not about that, but that general broader question I think is an important one for your consideration. Assuming we are going to attract companies with abatements, what kind of companies do you want to attract, and what do you want to require for those abatements? Here we have an opportunity to say we would like to attract companies that are offering paid family leave, and we have an additional opportunity because if they come here from a state that requires them to do so, they will get a federal tax credit. Any company in the state of Nevada right now that chooses to offer paid family leave can qualify for this federal tax credit if they so choose. We're just simply saying, if you're going to offer abatements, this might be a way to attract the kind of companies that will add to an employee-centered culture here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Assemblywoman Mosca.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this, and I appreciate this conversation. It really is along similar lines. I've read the State Plan for Economic Development. I've read the annual report. I'm really trying to understand all of this because there have been so many bills that have come here for abatements. And this one I really appreciate because I'm going to quote you, Senator. You said businesses with sustainable relationships for families. And I think that's really important that we're thinking about the community. We're thinking about people. And so my question is actually with your expertise and your research in this, have there been other things like paid family medical leave that you've seen other states or other companies have done for abatements that also help people and not just businesses?
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman Mosca. That's a very important question when you consider the kind of, when we look at abatements in general, because Nevada does not have the same set of tools to attract companies. I mean, basically, since we do not ask corporations to pay income tax, and we do not ask individuals to pay income tax, we cannot offer relief from such income tax to attract those companies. That is the major tool that most states use when they're attracting companies. Because we don't have that tool with us, then we look to offer other things.
Thank you, Chair. And just have you seen in other states, so things like paid family medical leave to me are about what can help the community too, right? When this business comes because they got the abatement. Are there other things that you've seen as well that are along that same line in other states?
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman Mosca. I did not research the data on those other things, and so I don't want to go forward and offer information that I can't then show you a document. That's just how I am. I would feel like I would be nervous. Yeah. What I will tell you is that offering paid family leave, the beauty of it is that requiring paid family leave also helps with our workforce participation. And if you talk to any businesses today in Nevada, they will tell you that they are having a hard time getting employees. And so there's a win-win here. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing forward the language. It's always good to see you, Senator Flores and Lieutenant Governor Marshall. My question has to do with the language that was added in. I think it sounds like it was amended in following the Senate hearing. It has to do with page 6. If you could go into a little bit more about Section 3, which starts on line 10, goes to 18, where if a company outside of our state currently offers it, does this does this mean that they don't have to wait as long to get that tax break? Or if you could go into that a little bit more for clarification's reasons, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman Anderson. Yes, so if I'm a company and I come to Nevada and I don't offer paid family leave, okay? And then if by the 8th quarter or by whenever I would have 50 or more employees, I would be required to have paid family leave. If, however, I'm a company and I offer paid family leave in whatever other state I might be operating in, well, there's no reason for Nevada to take less. And so I would be required to offer whatever I offer in that state here, whichever, until the 8th quarter. So I'm getting into the details, but you asked for details. Okay, let's say I'm in a state and I offer paid family leave, but I'm only going to give you 2 weeks and I'm only going to pay you 30%, okay? I would be required to offer that exact same thing here until you reach the 8th quarter, right? Then at the 8th quarter, you'd have to offer 12 weeks at 55%. And quite frankly, if you were offering 2 weeks at 30%, you're not getting the federal tax credit because the feds require more. So we're matching what the feds require. Does that make sense? So we're not going to take, you're not going to take less, are you, than what they're already giving somebody else? Yeah, exactly.
We already do that enough, I think, in some areas. So thank you so much for that clarification, because I read it completely wrong. So this helps me clarify it so much more in my mind, because if we're getting a company, a small business, to come from California, which offers it already, we should be getting the same thing here in Nevada, is what you're saying. And we should be able to allow, GoEd should be able to allow then that tax abatement to occur. Am I understanding that correctly with the family leave, and that we are honoring the people that live in Nevada just as much as other states?
Kate Marshall for the record, always.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. With that, do we have any other questions from any other committee members? We'll go to Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the time. I've actually got several questions, but help me understand right now. So the business comes, they're required to give. Does the employee right now, as I understand FMLA, they get 12 weeks, they have to use up part of use their own sick leave before they can go on unpaid. Is that correct? As it stands now with FMLA. So can an employee forego using any of their sick leave and just say on day one, just start paying me the 55%?
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill. I don't know the exact answer to that question. That will be whether or not it complies with federal law. That you're asking a federal question about FMLA in general and how that works with sick leave versus paid FMLA.
Well, we're requiring these businesses to offer this benefit of 55% pay, but you're not sure how this would play out then, if I understand correctly.
I'm not sure of the how it works with an employee using their sick leave. They have to use their sick leave first and then using their paid FMLA. When you use your sick leave, my understanding is that you're paid 100%.
Right.
And so then when you start to use your paid FMLA, this bill requires it to be paid for those companies at 55%.
But can the employee opt right into 55 and not use their FMLA then? Not use their own sick leave under this bill? I'm saying, is there a loophole here
So
that
I'll
is
get
written
you
in
the
here?
answer to that question.
Okay.
I think I just assumed it would work the way it works today.
I understand. And could you tell me more about the federal tax credit? How much is it? How much do they receive? What is that?
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you very much, Assemblyman O'Neill. Okay, so the way the federal tax credit works is it works from December 2017 to January 1st, 2026. It has to have a written policy. There must be at least 2 weeks of paid family leave. It is prorated for employees who work part-time. The paid leave cannot be less than 50%. So the employee has to have been employed for at least a year. So let's talk about how then they calculate it. The credit is a percentage of the amount of wages paid to a qualifying employee while on family and medical leave. The minimum percentage is 12.5%, and it is increased by a 0.25%, so 0.25, for each percentage points by which the amount paid to a qualifying employee exceeds 50% of the employee's wages, with a maximum of 25% in certain cases. So they basically will pay you a minimum of 12.5% of what you're paying to that employee. So that's not bad, because if you're paying the employee 55%, then you're getting 12.5% of that. You're getting back in a straight credit per employee for when they take the time off.
And Madam Chair, if I may add, just a quick, brief comment. Senator Edgar Flores, for the record, thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill, for that question. I also wanted to just make it abundantly clear that we're only setting the floor. There are going to be businesses that have much better practices that go beyond what we are discussing. In other words, I believe there's other small business owners that sit on this very committee, including myself, who's standing before you, who our sick leave may exceed that, and our FMLA may exceed that 55%. And so I just wanted to make it abundantly clear, we're just setting the floor at the federal level, but we're not in any way suggesting that there won't be businesses that come in and may supersede that floor, and or businesses who are already doing that. So that's why it's difficult for us to give you an exact breakdown of how it would work in terms of family leave versus paid sick leave versus any other incentives that employers offer to their employees to ensure that they keep them healthy, happy, and can sustain them there for a long period of time. And so I think that's why we're having a hard time with that. But what we will do is provide the entire committee with just a general breakdown of what that floor would be, what that minimal standard would be, with FMLA and paid sick leave. And just so you can deduct that, that's the floor, knowing that that's definitely not the ceiling. And a lot of better business practices may do something different, or better said.
Chair, I have two quick follow-ups. Just for clarification, Lieutenant Governor, did you say that the tax credit expires in December of '26? So
Kate Marshall, for the record, January 1st, 2026.
January 1st of '26. So after that, it's of no benefit to the businesses then, the tax credit and this requirement that we would be placing on them. Am I understanding that correctly?
It would have, Kate Marshall, for the record, it would have to be renewed by Congress.
Okay. How many other states have this right now?
Kate Marshall, for the record, 13 states in the District of Columbia currently use a stick requiring paid family leave in their states. Those states are,
No, I don't need the states themselves. You answer.
they're, as I was explaining to Assemblywoman Mosca, the use of an additional abatement to paid family leave is not a tool that other states use because they have income taxes and then they waive those income taxes. In terms of the federal tax credit, for any state where they do not require paid family leave, those businesses can take advantage of this federal tax credit. So any business in Nevada could take advantage of it today if they so wanted.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for the time.
Thank you so much. We'll go to Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for your presentation. And it's lovely to meet you, ma'am. I've never heard you present before. I have to say that I'm definitely impressed. So my question is, how does this affect unpaid FMLA, and if it affects it at all?
Kate Marshall for the record. So currently, the federal government requires 12 weeks of FMLA, but doesn't require an employer to pay that. So should an employee want to take it, they can. Because it's unpaid, I don't have the data, but in general, employees will use their sick leave. And then if they can afford it, they will take some time. If they can't, they're back at work. Anecdotally, when my second child was born, I got 12 weeks of unpaid leave. And they told me that they made the mistake of saying I had 3 months. And so on the 12th week, I called and said, well, it happens to be that there's 13 weeks in these 3 months. And I took another week for my daughter. But so, you end up trying to, and quite frankly, what the data shows is that women stop working. As you saw, 55. It drops down to only 55% in terms of the workforce participation. Yeah.
Thank you. I was very surprised at the data as it has to do with women who are in child rearing age. I thought that was extremely impactful. But I also think that people might want to recognize that as we become older, we will always also see that this type of leave is used to care for aging parents and aging spouses. I'm at that age, where I'm looking at the big 6-0 here in a couple. And this is really, really important for family sustainability if someone has any type of an illness, and to be out of pay could be the difference between whether or not people are able to maintain an apartment or pay their mortgage or lose their car. And I like what you said earlier, and I've said this several times here in this committee, that Nevada is a beautiful state. She's a wonderful place to live. And the people that come here and they want some of her beauty should be prepared to meet her with the grace that she gives them and the benefit. We don't want busters here. We want businesses that are going to come here and bring good things to our citizens because we deserve it. And I'd love to know what you think about do you have any data on the use of FMLA as we get older?
Thank you, Kate Marshall, for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong, for that beautiful narrative of Nevada. I do not have data on how the data I was able to find was really on women's workforce participation, but you will note that in this bill it does say that you can use that paid family leave for an adult person. And that is really to begin to address our partner or something. Let me go back and make sure I use the language correctly. It says, where did I lose it? 6.5, maybe it's on 5, sorry. To care for any adult child, sibling, or domestic partner of the employee, recognizing that there are other people in the family that may need paid FMLA. Or a person in the family may need to take paid FMLA to take care of other family members.
It looks, we will circle back and let Assemblyman Haven ask another question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of questions came up. One, this would apply to both genders, correct?
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman Hafen. Yes, under federal law it does.
Okay. And then the other question was, so Nevada, I think it was 2019, passed FMLA of 40 hours. I think it's 40 hours. So that's the current law. And that 13 other states in the District of Columbia currently offer FMLA. But my question is are those 13 states and DC offering the full 12 weeks, or are they just offering some sort of FMLA?
Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman Hafen. There was a law passed, well, if it was last session or the session before, but it was not paid family leave, it was sick leave. And so based on a person's hours, they can get up to a full week or 40 hours in a year of sick leave. That is separate from paid family medical leave. For example, childbirth is not considered an illness, so paid family medical leave covers someone taking time for childbirth or taking time for another member of the family who might have needs. So it's different from sick leave. The laws are different. It varies by state what the requirements are for paid family leave for each state. If you would like me to get you what each state requires, we can do that.
Yes, because I kind of got the impression that you were making the statement that these 13 states and DC are offering the full 12 weeks, but I would, prior to this coming up to a vote, like to know exactly what those other states are offering. And also, could legal clarify for me what it is that Nevada currently offers in regards to the 40-hour time off?
Assemblyman Hafen, we can ask legal. We obviously don't have a staff member here right now, but we can shoot an email and get that information. But I believe Lieutenant Governor Marshall was correct with it was a paid time off bill of the 40 hours, and I do believe it was from the 2019 session because I was here. So I think that's it. But we'll get legal to get you something on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you. I do appreciate it.
And you guys may have said it, but I just want to make sure that it was clear because it was just certain language we were using here. With the federal tax credit being available by this bill in itself would not constitute as some sort of mandated FMLA for the state of Nevada because it's not applying to each and every business. This would not constitute a mandate that would preclude businesses that would want to move to Nevada from taking advantage of the federal tax credit.
Kate Marshall for the record. That is correct. It is part of an incentive package.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your guys' presentation this evening. So I will go ahead and you guys can step back and I'll start taking testimony and support. And for ease, I'll go to the phone lines. BPS, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in support of SB 429 this evening?
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 429, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Melody Hudilia. That's spelled MELODYJUDILLA, and I'm the Deputy Director of Silver State Voices. I'm calling in strong support of SB 429. As a small nonprofit organization, we have made the decision to implement a 12-week paid parental leave policy for our staff members. While we could have made it less than 12 weeks, especially since we have to fundraise every single dollar for our expenses, we strongly believe in taking care of our staff. We support SB 429 because it is one way we can ensure bigger businesses can implement similar policies. Not only is this the right thing to do, but policies like these support a healthy work environment and can help prevent high turnover in our state. I urge your support. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair Bacchus and members of the Committee on Revenue. My name is Shelley Speck, that's S-H-E-L-L-Y, last name S-P-E-C-K, and I am providing testimony today on behalf of the Children's Advocacy Alliance and the Nevada Strong Start Coalition. The family is the cornerstone of our society, but most working class families still lack access to any sort of paid family leave. This creates undue hardship and stress when new mothers must choose between a paycheck or being able to meet the needs of a newborn. This prolonged stress is inevitably sensed by babies when reunited with their mothers, which creates negative effects on their well-being. Policies which ensure that most workers in Nevada have access to even a fraction of their salary through paid family and medical leave would set infants and families up to thrive. When I had my son, I had to withdraw a sizable portion of my 401k to get by. The penalties incurred were worth it, but the process should not have been necessary. As I look back, that time was crucial to forging a bond with him, helping me recover from childbirth, and fostering a nurturing and responsive parent-child relationship. Research backs up my testimony. Paid family and medical leave policies may help improve the health of families, reduce food insecurity, boost business and employee retention, allow more women to reenter the workforce, and decrease families' reliance on public assistance programs. The U.S. is one of the only countries in the world that does not guarantee paid family and medical leave, leaving too many workers forced to sacrifice their savings or their jobs when they need time off to bond with a new child or care for themselves or their families. Paid family and medical leave protect people during these critical life moments. We must act now to ensure the next generation of children grow into healthy adults by passing a paid leave policy in Nevada. Thank you. You guys make history today. Take care.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Maria Teresa Lieberman Barraga, MARIA-TERESA-LIEBERMANN-PARRAGA, and I am with Battleborn Progress, and we're in strong support of SB 429. And I, like many of the other folks that you heard, I don't have children, but I was a kid who saw her mother work 2 housekeeping jobs. And even before that, working tirelessly to support myself after our father died. And childcare was incredibly difficult. We had to figure out ways for me to stay with family or friends that had, parents that were in the house, so that I wasn't always by myself. And that was incredibly difficult for us. And so I just hope, like the other caller said, that we make history today so we can do it just a little bit better for our families so that they can stay bonded and stay together. And we can do that through this. Thank you.
Callers, if you've recently joined and like to testify in support of Senate Bill 429, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brianna Escamilla, BriannaEscamilla, and I'm calling in on behalf of Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada in support of SB 429 because paid family and medical leave benefits workers and employers and keeps communities healthy and economically empowered. Not only does it keep valuable employees in their jobs when they have a child or a medical emergency, it also saves employers money by preventing turnover and loss of talent. Paid family and medical leave is crucial to Nevadans' ability to maintain healthy, financially secure, and full lives, and we should do all that we can to attract employers into our state who offer that leave. Thank you.
Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, we can come here to Carson City. Feel free, whoever wants to start first, go ahead.
Thank you. David Goldwater from Pinion Public Affairs, representing the Impact Project. I wanted to just outline my journey on economic development and my experience with this. I was in the Assembly and received a representing Assembly District 10 in the 90s, and I received a very angry telephone call from a business constituent of mine. And that business constituent was so mad that usually on those calls, I declare it to be a Senate problem and move it over to the Senate. But in this case, he was a furniture store owner, and he was very upset that we were giving money to an incentive package to another insurance or another furniture company that was coming to town. Why does he, who pays all his taxes, takes care of all his employees on the full basis, pays all his personal property taxes, who's been living in Nevada and paying those taxes for years, what economic benefit is there to bringing his competition in town and giving them a break on sales taxes, on employment taxes, on property taxes? And he was right. And that's where I came up here and learned about what we do for economic development. Those laws have changed a lot over the years. This is yet another step on a journey of improving Nevada's economic development package for Nevada businesses. All your businesses who you represent, they're all paying 100% of the taxes. All of them. You're bringing their competitors into town. Yes, you're bringing their customers sometimes, and we understand the concept of economic development and support it. I certainly do, as my client does. But in this case, we want to say to our Nevada businesses, we got you. If you're going to pay for your employees, and I have a couple businesses, and we provide our medical leave, and most of your good business constituents that you guys pay attention to, they do the same thing. They pay their leave. Let's not bring their competitors to town who don't do the same things that they do and then subsidize them. Number two, I want to compliment the job that GOED does, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, under both parties' administrations. They have done a tremendous job bringing businesses to this state that benefit. The challenging job that they do, their competitors are other states. And this is, by some measure, maybe holding them back a little bit relative to some other state. But as our former Lieutenant Governor and former State Treasurer outlined, it is not a apples to apples comparison in the world of economic development. Every state has something to offer, whether it be geography, whether it be climate, whether it be access to infrastructure, whether it be income taxes. This is not something that would hold us back. Something like, would we have done the Tesla deal if this were law? The answer is yes. Tesla offers 16 weeks of paid leave, I think. And I think they might have even offered more. This would never have held back a deal like an important deal like Tesla. And I would venture to say that if you ask GOED who their top 10 prospects were, all 10 would have something along these lines. And if they didn't, we'd really want to know the answer, why not? Lastly, I want to help sort of differentiate the roles. The executive branch and GOED, they don't have too much discretion. The legislature writes the rules. So whenever anybody's upset by what happened or what this deal is on economic development or what this incentive package is, it's usually misplaced. Now's the time during the legislature to write the rules the way you want them. And then GOED and the executive branch can go do it. Finally, nobody is required to pay this leave. You don't want the leave, you don't want to pay the employees, you don't take the tax money. Don't ask for a subsidy. You don't have to provide this benefit. But if you are going to take this money that would have otherwise the sales taxes and property tax and MBT and all the things we rebate that would have otherwise gone to schools, healthcare, and prisons that you guys all work on, that's where that money would otherwise have gone to. Don't take it. Don't offer it. That's fine too. Not mandated, not required. Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And I don't know, Mr. Goldwater, if you have more information on this, but I can kind of fill in. We've reached legal on one of the issues which raised another issue from my colleague and probably myself, is the bill that was passed, Senate Bill 312 in 2019. It did provide for a paid leave for companies that have 50 or more employees. And I don't think we left it a little broad. And would that be something that you guys may think would preclude Nevada from being a state that could benefit from the credit, since we do now have this law on the books? And if Lieutenant Governor Marshall wants to come up, if she has knowledge about that. That was one of the things that Assemblyman Hafen and I kind of were questionable about.
Yes, thank you, Kate Marshall, for the record, and thank you for allowing me to come back up, Madam Chair. Yes, the bill passed in 2019 does not meet the criteria for family medical leave under the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, and therefore is not a requirement. It does not meet the criteria for paid family medical leave IRS tax credit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's truly appreciated.
I'm going to go next. Shannon Bilbray Axelrod for the record, and this brought me out of my office because this is like deeply personal to me, and I have sort of quite a bit of knowledge on it, having gone through receiving FMLA and going through, you have to exhaust all your time off. First and foremost, you have to go through all that, and then there is a very stringent process showing that you are the primary and only caregiver for that person. So if you have help, if you have someone who's helping, you have to show exactly the number of hours that you are with the person who qualifies you for FMLA. As you all know, the federal government is not like super like, oh, I'm sure that's fine. You literally have to dot every I and cross every T. And when I was navigating the system, it was here in Nevada, and it was for 12 weeks of unpaid. So literally it was just to keep the job, period, the end. So exhaust all your time off if you have any that you can be paid for. And then the 12 weeks currently in Nevada is literally just that you will have a job after those 12 weeks that you hope to come back for. So I saw all your questions, and I was in my office, and my office is right there. So I just thought I would come over, and this is a really good bill. So all right, that's it.
I was waiting for the support testimony. I was like, this kind of sounds neutral. Okay, thank you.
No, it's complete support. Yes, it was kind of neutral, but just wanted to put that on the record as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. Go ahead, Tess.
Tess Opperman here on behalf of the Nevada Women's Lobby. I just wanted to comment for a brief moment on the 2019 bill. I don't recall the exact amount, but I want to say it's something like 0.0193 hours per hour worked that you get off, which equates to, if you work a full-time job, 40 hours a week, then that is 1 week off per year. So I see you nodding, so it's...
You were one digit off. It was 0.01923 hours of paid leave for each hour of work. But you're right, it does. I believe it does end up being 40 hours of paid time off for a year.
Pretty close, considering I had not looked at that bill since 2019. With that, I just want to state our full support of this bill. One of the main priorities of the Nevada Women's Lobby is to advocate for policies that help ensure women and families have access to paid time off and paid leave. We are a growing state, and every year new businesses come to Nevada and create quality jobs for our residents. However, as we encourage companies to open doors here in our state by offering tax abatements, we should ensure that those companies are ones who will create quality jobs for residents. This means a living wage, and it means quality benefits, such as this bill, which creates paid family and medical leave. Former Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall did an excellent job of highlighting the data and explaining why this is particularly important for women and families, and I just want to highlight a few more points. Paid leave improves health and development outcomes for children. It helps prevent maternal depression and stress. Paid FMLA increases rates of breastfeeding and duration of breastfeeding, which directly increases positive health outcomes for children. It results in lower rates of infant mortality and maternal mortality, and it leads to more workforce stability through increased retention and turnover reduction. Furthermore, many of these companies, as previous testifiers have said, are already offering these benefits in other states. Let's make sure Nevada has the same access to quality jobs as the residents of surrounding states. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we will go ahead to the phone lines for testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 429. BPS, is there anyone on the phone line wishing to give testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 429?
Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll go ahead here to Carson City. For those wishing to give testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 429, please make your way up to the dais and start when you are ready.
Good evening, the chair, members of the committee, Paul Marakin with the Vegas Chamber. First, the chamber would like to thank the proponents of the bill for meeting the chamber about this bill, and we appreciate their intent and their efforts here. The chamber is concerned about requiring FMLA at 55% of the employer salaries will place us at a disadvantage on the national level when we're competing for new business to Nevada. Federal FMLA does not require employees to currently be paid, so there's no consistency across the board, across the country on that. We do appreciate the effort to tie this to the tax credit for the 3 years, as mentioned, which will expire in 2026. And of course, we want to attract other businesses to Nevada and the best companies, of course. But there's also other factors we have to take consideration when other businesses are looking to come to Nevada and other states. For example, our housing, education, healthcare, regulatory environment, and business mandates. So there are many other areas that we're not leading in, as we've talked about in comparison to tax credits and abatements that are offered by the state. We do appreciate the proponents' open dialogue with the chamber and so forth, but I also want to clarify for a moment about SB 312, which was passed in 2019. The chamber was one of the leading negotiators on that from the business community side, and that bill was purposely drafted to allow as much flexibility as possible for employees, and it is 40 hours a week. And that was something that was forward-thinking at the time, because we didn't want to restrict employees from only being able to take sick leave or just taking paid time off for vacations. We purposely made it as broad as possible, and according to the NRS, we are not allowed to ask them why they want to take the time off, so they can make those decisions why they want to take the time off. That's their own personal decision to use that time and so forth. So I just want to clarify, it's not sick leave, it is paid leave for any purpose they wish to use. The only restriction is it has to be used in 4-hour increments, which makes sense for accounting purposes and for HR purposes and collective bargaining reasons. So just want to clarify on the record. But again, I very much appreciate proponents' desire to work with us and try to come to some resolution. But again, the chamber is currently opposed because of the competitiveness issue. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to share our comments. Ashley Cruz with Career Nevada for the record, here on behalf of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. LVGEA works together with our municipal and private partners and is one of the 8 appointed regional economic development authorities that works together with Nevada's Economic Development Agency, GOED. The goal of LVGEA is to improve our region's economic conditions by attracting desirable industries that afford Nevadans with diverse careers to enhance quality of life, and serves as an extension to our education partners in the workforce arena. The industries LVGEA attracts sell their goods out of state, which generates new tax revenues for Nevada that are reinvested into education, healthcare, and public safety. This focus also diversifies the tax base so our economy better withstands boom and bust cycles that so often occur in our state. Currently, the state requires businesses who seek partial performance-based tax abatements to meet qualifying criteria that includes average wages, number of primary jobs for Nevadans, as well as a capital investment. Businesses must also adhere to Nevada's regulatory requirements, which includes the state's existing paid leave statute that is applied to businesses in all sectors. LVGEA is proud to share that this work has and continues to support all areas of the Las Vegas Valley, including the city of Mesquite. I will also share that the work LVGEA and other RDAs do is a competitive team sport, and competition for those desirable companies is incredibly fierce. We believe this unique precondition for a narrowly tailored group of businesses would only work against our state's already challenging market position in striving to attract those diverse businesses and industries we wish to have call Nevada home. Thank you for the opportunity to share our concerns. We urge your opposition.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Mindy Elliott, representing the Northern Nevada Development Authority and the Economic Development Authority of Western Nevada. I'm a little confused, and I don't get confused very often, but we have a bill that we are asking for companies that are seeking abatements for 6 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. And the justification for this bill is the fact that if an employer pays 55% of an employee's wages, they get 12.5% of a tax abatement. It's a little confusing to me, but okay. The other issue that I have is this tax abatement on the federal level expires January 1st, 2026. This bill doesn't have an expiration date. So we are actually putting something into statute in perpetuity that there is no longer a 12.5% tax credit on a federal employee, on an IRS tax filing, which is the justification for this bill. And perhaps I'm just confused. The other issue that I have with this bill is that this bill actually goes further than the FMLA requirements under the IRS tax code. If you look at what qualifies for the authorized pursuant to Federal and Medical Leave Act of 1993, it has a sundry of listings on the IRS website. It does not list to care for any adult child, a sibling, or domestic partner of the employee. So if my brother is sick, if my sister is sick, if my adult child, if my son is sick, I'm just a little confused that once again, we are going further than what the federal requirements are even asking for on the the IRS website. So we do have some concerns. I'm not going to go reiterate what's already been said by the LVGEA and the Metro Chamber. They've done a good job. We appreciate the bill sponsor, but again, I just caution that we are putting into law something based on an expiration date that is no longer going to be, unless Congress reauthorizes it according to the bill sponsor. So with that, Madam Chair, those are, we stand in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we will go back to the phone lines for neutral testimony. BPS, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Senate Bill 429?
Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. We will come to Carson City. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give testimony in the neutral to SB 429? I don't think there is anyone else. So with that, I'll go ahead and invite the bill sponsors back up to the dais, and feel free to give closing remarks when you all are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll allow our Lieutenant Governor to close it off. But before I do that, Senator Edgar Flores, for the record, I wanted to clarify a couple of points, and I do appreciate the opposition's enthusiasm and energy. Obviously, they're very excited about continuing to attract business to Nevada, and I agree with that. Everybody in this building, everybody in the state of Nevada knows how important that is. But I just wanted to make a couple of clarifying points. First, regarding the federal tax credit. The federal tax credit that we mentioned in our opening remarks is not the genesis of this bill. The genesis of this bill is a philosophical question that I want us to address as a body. Are we still in a state of desperation as a state that we want just any business to come here, or if you're going to get an abatement that I didn't get as a small business owner, an abatement that most of you who are small business owners did not get. Because you can do that. Any business can come to the state of Nevada and not offer FMLA. What I am asking is, if you're going to get a benefit, you're going to get a tax cut, you're going to get something that every other business does not get, should we put a minimal requirement that says we are asking that you align yourselves with something greater, that in the state of Nevada, if you're going to take all that it gives you, you're going to ensure that you're giving just a little bit back. And that minimal requirement is to say that you are ensuring that families are taken care of when we desperately need that. That is what the question that we are asking and that we are posing before you. In addition to that, I also wanted to make it abundantly clear that the reason we brought up the federal tax credit is because that is something that will absolutely happen. It's going to be a part of the negotiation right now, presently, during the conversations. So why would we leave that out of our presentation? It is equally possible that there are other federal incentives down the road that are offered that we would then also utilize as we're trying to attract businesses to the state of Nevada. But those federal benefits that are out there are not the reason why we're doing this bill. We are simply explaining that if we're creating a minimal standard, that we're going to give you something that no other business gets in the state of Nevada. We want to make sure that we're attracting the best businesses that have the best interest of our families, along with making money. They're not mutually exclusive. They can work together. And lastly, I also just wanted to make it clear that no business has to accept all the benefits that Nevada offers. Just like most businesses don't. We are simply saying, again, that if you're going to get all of these free things, because Nevada wants to partner with you, that you then shake our hand and partner with our families, period. That is the only question that is being posed to you. If you're a small business owner, I guarantee you didn't get the luxury of all these abatements. So all I'm saying is, please join us in a bipartisan effort that we raise the standard. And I do agree that there are things in federal law that are not in the NRS. We agree with that because there is no requirement that we offer abatements, but we're doing it as a state. There's no federal requirement that we do a lot of things. What I am saying through this bill is that we want to elevate the standard a little bit, that Nevada is elevating the standard, and that we have a mutual relationship in protecting employers who are protecting employees. And with that, Madam Chair, if I may pass it on to our Lieutenant Governor for the final remarks.
Kate Marshall, for the record, he said it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on Senate Bill 429 and open up our hearing this evening for public comment. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give public comment this evening? With that, we'll go ahead to the phone lines. BPS, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give public comment this evening?
Chair, the public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Well, that concludes our meeting this evening, and we do not have a meeting as reflected on the agenda for next Thursday. So everyone have a good rest of the week.